I have always tried to write my own story, wrote Ray Bradbury more than a quarter century after the publication of Dark Carnival, his first collection of short fiction. Give it a label if you wish, call it science fiction or fantasy or the mystery or the western, but at heart, all good stories are the one kind of story, the story written by an individual from their individual truth. Published in 1947 by weird fiction specialist Arkham House, Dark Carnival gathered stories from the early years of Bradbury's professional life. Many had made their first appearances in the pages of Weird Tales magazine. Still learning and developing his craft, he revised the material for the book's publication. In the case of The Skeleton, developing a brief vignette into a full-blown and layered narrative. To these selections he added 6 new pieces written specifically for the lineup. Then in 1955, a number of the stories were chosen for inclusion in a further collection, The October Country. Appearing there with further and mostly minor revisions, these became the author's preferred versions. With Bradbury declining to authorise any further printings, Dark Carnival became a scarce and sought-after volume. This Subterranean Press edition presents all the stories in that first collected form, reuniting the 27 originals and adding 5 more. Of the passed over titles, a number remained unseen for decades. On the evidence here, Bradbury found his voice early. Though the language is rich, it is also pure and precise, styled with a purpose, and the tone is confident from the outset. Here you can experience that early, heady explosion of the young Bradbury's talent, presented in this new edition with illustrations by the legendary Dave McKean.
Hello, my name is Dave McKean, and I've illustrated Ray Bradbury's collection of short stories, Dark Carnival, for Subterranean Press. Dark Carnival is a collection of short stories. They're mostly mystery stories, slightly horror-ish, but like all of Ray Bradbury's work, it's embedded in Americana and observing American life. I first discovered Ray Bradbury when I was a teenager. I was not a big reader, but I loved comic books, and comics got me reading. From there, I went on to science fiction novels, fantasy novels, but I found this book called Dandelion Wine, and it was really unlike anything else I was reading. Really strange, mysterious, evocative, got under my skin. So I carried on reading Ray Bradbury after that, The Illustrated Man, Golden Man, and many others. It's an interesting question whether an author from the 20th century, middle of the 20th century, is relevant today. I think anybody who excavates human psyches as much as he did and understands the way people think and fear as much as he did will always be relevant. I think those stories not only are historically interesting, showing you a way of life, but people are basically still walking around with the same loves and losses and fears and anguishes, and those stories dig away at those beautifully. His studio apparently is full of his life's clutter, and I feel sympathy with that, really. I love having objects around, lots of books around. They all represent a little voice from my past. I love seeing books on a shelf. Each one reminds me of when I read it and where I was at the time. I fill the studio with masks and objects and drawings and paintings and bits and bobs. They all bring their own history with them. And they just, you walk past and they glance at you and you get an idea. And you never know when that's going to happen until it's the right time. The difficulty with doing just one image for a whole story is just finding that image, really. It tends to be at the beginning of the story. You don't want to give away the ending, and you don't want to have something that's just a complete non sequitur. So I tend to just look at the first few pages, the setup, the environment that we're in, maybe the main character, although I don't really like nailing the main character down to one look. I'd rather allow the reader to conjure that face for themselves. So it's a trick, finding that one image that sums up the story, maybe not literally, maybe symbolically, but sets a mood, sets a tone, and then also works with as a suite together with all of the other images in the book. Ray Bradbury was a big supporter of the comic convention in San Diego. He always loved comics. He never gave up his the loves of his childhood. And I did meet him there a couple of times. He was very elderly. He was in a wheelchair. But the first time I had done the Homecoming illustrations for Homecoming. The second time I'd done some illustrations for a short story called Skeletons. So we could talk about those. It was lovely to meet him. He, even in his, at the very end of his life, he was full of stories and full of twinkle, and loved to just talk about the art of storytelling.